Well, here's a fun position. Uh, this is what I would call a super back game by blue, and I happened to be playing red when this came up. And I guarantee you, I did lose this game, and I'm sure I didn't play it well. It wasn't recorded, so I can't be sure how bad I played it, or whether he got lucky, or whether he played it great. I didn't like some of his plays. I wasn't sure of many of mine. And I don't know that there's too many players in the world that would play this perfectly well. There's just a lot of things going on here when you play a back game like this. It's, of course, largely about timing, and it's largely about trying to trap blue and trying to make sure blue crashes and so on. And I think clearly red has the tougher position here to play. Blue's going to try and just keep his timing and get better timing. It's kind of silly for him to try to hold 3 points, whether he holds a 1-2-2-3 or 1-3 back game, depends on the rolls and what he can do. But he's in danger of being trapped too much if he can't get some of those back checkers moving. And I think that's just going to be a lot of luck on his part as to whether he rolls the right numbers. He would love to roll a 5-4 or a 6-5 and make my bar point, and I want to make sure he doesn't make the bar point. That's what it's all about. The real question is, if I'm not sure how to play this position and I want to be a good backgammon player, then I darn well better learn how to be sure how to play this position. And I'll tell you, I've learned a lot in the last few years working with Stick as one of my teaching partners and being good friends and working with Matt Cohn-Geyer. Those two guys, I bring up their name. There's a lot of really great players and teachers out there, but those two are probably worldwide the most impressive for having come from nowhere to becoming two of the top players in the world almost overnight. They have great skills, of course. They have great game playing skills. Their math is pretty good, or at least reasonably good. Stick claims he's not an expert at math, but when you talk about the math with him, he certainly knows what he's talking about. But the one thing that they both have is enormous discipline. They are not about to see a position that they don't understand and just say, that's tough. Let me go on to the next one. They sit down and they master the darn thing, and they really work at it. And that's what they taught me. The trick to really understanding the game is to learn every kind of game one by one. So how do I learn this game? How do I become a really, really skilled defender of a game like this? And by the way, how do I become really, really skilled at playing blue side too? Well, the answer is there's a couple of ways you can do it, but I like to not just play this position out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and see what rolls happen to come up and how I should play them, and let's see what XG says is right, and then try to figure it out. That's a good way to do it. But start out with this roll and look at every single possible roll and how you should play it. Start with double one, then go to then go to 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, then double two and go up the road, or start with double six. It doesn't matter. And if you can understand how to make every single play, every single move with every roll of the dice that you could possibly have at this position, then you'll truly get a feel for what is going on in this position. And then take a random roll and move it to the next spot, to the next roll, and figure out what you do with every roll then. Then you really will understand what you're trying to do, what is your overall theme, and then the plays in positions like this become thematic. You cannot memorize every single position. You can't memorize, even if you learn what exactly you should do with 1-1 and you understand why you should do it with 1-1 and what's right. Even if you understood that, or with a 2-1 or whatever the roll is, you probably won't be in this exact position for quite a while and you won't remember it. But if you remember what to do with all the rolls, you'll have a feel for how this position is supposed to be played. And then every roll becomes a thematic roll. Well, I'm not going to get into too much detail on every single roll, but a 1-1 here is very obvious. You play 9 to 7 twice and make the point. 2-1 isn't so obvious. How you play a 2-1. Do you hit or not is the first big question. Are you helping his timing more, or are you hurting him by hitting? Quite often when your opponent has a back game and he doesn't quite have enough timing, and usually he'd like to have 100 pips timing is the number for a low back game like this. He only has 88. I really could be helping him by hitting him. At the other side of the coin is, if I can trap him in here and overhit him, you get to the point where overhit him, and he doesn't have many checkers to play on this side, there's more of a chance that these checkers will crash, and he won't be able to make his point. So the question of whether you hit him or not is the first thing you have to answer. What are your alternative plays? So you could make the 7-point again, but you're leaving a double shot out here, which may or may not be bad if you want to get hit and get recirculated. That's a possibility. I don't see a whole lot of other productive things you can do. You can skip by him without hitting. That's a real simple thing to do too. Play 16 to 13. So you take your best guess and you hit the magic button on Extreme Gammon. First of all, we need to put in the play, a checker play of 2-1. And by the way, I know the play because I've done this. I know I could close my eyes and you could tell me every single one of the 36 possible rolls here, and I will get this right in this position because I'm telling you that I've done this work. I'm not saying I'll get it right in every position, but I can tell you that from this spot, I know every roll. And I can feel what's right in these things almost instantly. It's incredible when you watch top players play speed gammon and they're still playing under 3.0 or certainly under 4.0, and it happens all the time. How can they possibly make complicated plays so quick? Because they've done this, because they already have thematic plays and reference positions, and they just know what their goals are during these kinds of plays. By the way, there's another trick in speed gammon too. They're thinking like crazy and planning ahead while it's the other guy's play. So they have twice as much time as the average person to make their play because they're thinking all the time. And by the way, that's a great, great strategy when you're not playing speed gammon. When my opponent's playing, I'm thinking about what are the rolls I really want, what numbers are going to hit them, what rolls get me out, what makes the prime. I'm not likely to miss them, and I know right away what I'm going to do. That doesn't mean I have to play fast, but usually with a clock, now that we have clocks at a lot of tournaments, which I think is wonderful, really helped the game tremendously. So even with clocks, I want to play at a faster pace and only take a lot of time when I need it. And if I make these plays in these positions thematic, I got it. By the way, the answer here is you do hit. You want to overhit him here. Your best way for him to crash is for him to not have too many checkers to play with on this side of the board. If he tries to come out, unless he rolls a great roll, like a double 5, double 4, double 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, or 6, 4, and makes this point, you can probably hurt his timing quite a bit. And even if he makes it, you still might be able to hurt him. So the answer is to hit and probably play 13 to 12 to give you the most flexibility. Again, I hit the button. I always hit plus first. So I get the top plays come to the top pretty quickly, and then I plus them because plus is so much better than plus. So the top 3 plays are hitting and making the 7-point. Now I highlight those and go plus, and I'm going to get a better reading. Now, as anybody will tell you, if you really want to know you're getting a good reading, you need to do a rollout. If I sit and do a rollout on every one of these every time, then I really will become such a tedious task that it's not worth it. I'm sure someday computers in this program will be fast enough to where you can do a rollout as fast as you can do plus. Plus is a semi-rollout in some ways. It's almost like a mini rollout. Used to be in Snowy or XG or Jellyfish. So you're getting a pretty strong, accurate answer. Clearly, it's right to hit. You don't win the game quite as much when you hit. Look at this. The DMP play is to not hit. You win about 1.3% more if you don't hit. That's what these numbers mean. But I win 42 gammons instead of 38 gammons. And with a gammon value, as it is here, of 0.5, I'm winning more than twice as many gammons as the number of games that I'm giving up by making the hitting play. So this is really all about gammons. By the way, also I pick up backgammons. That's a big thing. Most people forget about looking at the backgammons. I get 7.3% backgammons as opposed to 4.8. The value of a backgammon is 1-to-1. It's 1.0. It's equal to winning and losing a game. So how many gammons do I lose or backgammons do I lose? That's negligible. That I don't have to worry about in this kind of a position. So the God is in the details and in the numbers. I can understand the numbers and I can see why I'm hitting. So that would also tell me that at DMP I wouldn't hit. It is better to make the 7-point. Now let's pretend it's DMP. How do I want to find out? Hit the D for DMP, double match point. It's one away for both players, and as you'll see, the best play is going to be making the 7-point, not hitting. There it is, making the 7-point because you simply win more games. So why would you make the 7-point? Let's see how that looks. First, I'm going to hit Control C save the position. This looks pretty funny here. He's going to roll any 6 or 5 and hit me. And, well, what happens? I get recirculated and it cost him his timing. That's what it's all about. This way, we really are hurting his timing this way. And since I don't care about getting gammons and backgammons, I get a lot more gammons and backgammons if I keep checkers back here. But I'm going to win more games this way. Well, why would you win more games this way if he's going to hit you and be able to come out with 6s and 5s? Why does that enter into more games? I can understand it, again, because I played out so many of these, but if you can't, again, you need to play it out. Let's give him a hit. Let's give him a great hit. Let's give him a 6 so he doesn't even have to break this point. Give him a normal number like a 6-1, where he doesn't hit 2 checkers and you don't go crazy. And if you don't understand why this wins more, and it isn't a lot more, but it's enough more to be right, and you need to understand the concept. Falafel once said when I was giving a lecture, and he was one of my team captains, he said, look, you guys, don't get hung up on the fact that one plays 1% better than another, because change the position of the score slightly, and it could be 5% better. It's not about the percent. Understand what's going on. Understand the concept. Understand why you're doing this and what the logic is behind it. That's what's really important. He's another player that through a lot of study and Falafel didn't just get lucky to become the best player in the world or considered the best player in the world. He put in a tremendous amount of time studying and looking at positions and trying to understand how they work. So why is this better? Well, again, you'd have to go and start playing it from here if you don't understand why, if you can't visualize why this is better. Okay, so here is the bottom line to what this lesson is all about, or this little lecture or video is all about. You do not get better by playing games. You get better by looking at a specific kind of game or position and understanding that position fully. It takes time, it takes discipline, and for most people, it's not fun. For me, it's fun because there is nothing more exciting and more fun than being able to say, Eureka, I've got it. I understand how to play this game. I understand this position. And then the next time I'm in a position like this, to have the confidence that I'm fairly certain of what to do, that I understand thematic plays, that I recognize that in this type of game I should hit, or I shouldn't hit, or I should make my bar, or I should trap him, or not trap him. All of the things that you do, slotting the back of the prime, or trying to slot the prime, or breaking the prime, or making the prime, all of these things you do when you're defending a back game are tremendously difficult and confusing. And again, even the best players in the world are going to make some wrong plays here. But if you can feel confident about it and get most of the plays right and be right most of the time, you're going to be as good as just about anybody in the world. That's all it takes. As long as you're better than the guy sitting across the table, you're going to win more. My goal isn't to be able to consistently beat Falafel or Stick or Matt Cohn-Geyer. I just want to be as good as I can be. I want to be better. And as long as I'm getting better, I'm happy. And so far, thanks to their help and their theories that I'm applying, it's working. And this is what I'm teaching to my students, and I'm showing you how to do this too. The real secret to improvement. It's called disciplined study. It's called disciplined actions, and really learning about each type of game. So you do the same thing for a priming game, do the same thing for a holding game, do the same thing for a blitzing game, do the same thing for racing games, do the same thing for each type of position where you know you have a problem. How do you know you have a problem? It's very simple. When you make a bad play, and according to Extreme Gammon, where you take a picture of a live play that you made that you really don't understand, and it turns out you made a blunder, you got a hole in your game. You got a part of the game that you don't understand. And if you're like me, you got a lot of different parts that you don't understand. You're making errors all over the place, like all of us do. I've got copies of blunders that all the top players have made, including the ones that I've named. But we all make them. But we make a lot more of them than the top giants do. And we have more holes to fill. Well, how are you ever going to fill them? This is the answer. Attack them one at a time, one by one. Go back to this basic position. I hit Control V, put it back. Now I ask myself, how do I play a 3-1, then a 4-1, then a 5-1, then a 6-1? Keep going and see how well you do. And anytime you see that you made the wrong play, ask yourself, why is it that Extreme Gammon says to play it this way? And if you can't come up with the answer, if you can't visualize it, get help. Find somebody, find a mentor, find a friend, take a lesson, call me. I'll give you a lesson on it. send me the position and set up a date, and I'll be happy to work with you on it. Of course, I charge. I give backgammon lessons for a living. I'm not free, but you don't just need me. I'm sure there's somebody really good at your club that would spend time with you. I got a lot of free help from Neil Kazaros and Jake Jacobs and Malcolm Davis and Perry Gartner and all kinds of other friends that I had where I would send them a position or call them over and say, hey, what's going on here? They're very generous with their time and help. There's a lot of help out there. You don't have to pay for lessons from me. If you do pay for lessons from me, though, I won't just play games with you. Once in a while, I'll play a game to see if we can identify a hole and to make sure what you're thinking is over the board. But I insist that we tackle this game one area at a time and learn how to play the early game, learn how to play the blitzing game, and so on. And this is how you do it. It's not brain surgery. It works, though. I can prove it. It works for me. It worked for Matt Cohn-Geyer and Stick and Falafel and all the other top players in the world. One by one, they made sure they knew how to play every kind of position. Well, I'll get off my soapbox now. Thank you for listening and watching, and I will see many of you in Peoria very soon. I'm playing in the ACS charity event that Bill Davis runs in Chicago every year. Small tournament that raises lots of money for the Anti-Cruelty Society. Looking forward to that. I'll be in LA. I'm going to Jamaica for a tournament. There's lots of fun stuff coming up. I'm afraid that I'm going to miss Vegas, but that's a great one. Howard Markowitz always runs a wonderful tournament, and just check with the USBGF. There's a whole bunch of other good ones coming up. Connecticut, and of course, let's not forget about San Antonio. That's become one of the best and premier tournaments in the world, and really, really fun. I wouldn't miss that for the world. Take it easy. See you soon. Bye-bye.